Hi guys and welcome back to Contextual Electronics. My name is Chris Gamble. Today we're going to go over measurements and moving stuff in KiCad in the layout program. Some of this has actually changed in KiCad 5.0 for the better, and I wanted to show you that here today. A lot of the stuff that I've shown in the past, actually if I go back and watch some of my old videos in KiCad 3.0, you actually watch me like clicking and dragging things around and kind of hunting around. In KiCad 4.0 I figured out, well, there's actually a sub-coordinate system, which is really useful, which I'll show you here. And then in KiCad 5.0, I've since figured out the move exactly command and how to use that better. So let's take a look here at one of the layouts I've used in the past here. First things first, down in the right corner here, right, so in the lower right corner, this is that alternate coordinate system I'm talking about, right? So I'm in inches right now. You can see I'm in inches in the upper left side here. I can switch that to millimeters if I want to. What I can do though is I can actually mouse anywhere and hit the space bar, and if you see there in the lower right corner, that is now reset. So if I want to go and find that again, then I can go and get near 0, 0. Another thing I usually do is I usually go to a grid that is a little bit bigger, especially when I'm moving stuff around. So let's go to maybe 50 mil grid, right? And you can actually see the grid line. Well, I mean, you might not be able to see it on your video, but there's actually white dots here that show the grid now. And so if I hit the spacebar and I zero it out, and I move one grid line, basically it's 0.05 inches or 50 mils, and that allows us to basically move things a little bit smoother. Now that was what I was talking about in KiCad 4.0. I would often do that just to be able to move things exactly. I'd be able to say, okay, well, I start at 0, 0, I set my 0 point, and I'm going to move it maybe 100 mils from there. And so that's useful for this kind of stuff. Now, what I want to show here today is two things, both of them related to Control plus M. The first one is Control plus M is move exactly. So if I hit Control plus, I have to actually select a component, Control M, and I hit yes. Oh, and oh my goodness, it's way off the screen here. There we go. Sorry, I'm on a multi-monitor setup here. And so this is the move exactly setup, and this allows us to do that kind of stuff. Now what I'm going to do is what I like doing, and often this is something that I'm doing for registration holes like this. So this is a through hole that I have here, right? So I'm going to actually first, I'm going to go and unlock this this component. So I'm going to right click, locking, unlock, just to make it easier for moving. It's going to otherwise it's just going to keep asking me about that. And then I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it, right? So I'm going to say duplicate. Now what I want to do is I want to move that that second hole related to this first hole. So the first thing I'm going to do is mouse over this component and hit M, and you see it snaps to the center point of that component. What I'm going to then do is hit the space bar, and now you see in the lower right corner. Oh. Now you see in the lower right corner, as I'm over top of this thing, it's now zeroed out. And what you also see is that this component is actually not on that 50 mil grid. So if I move it right now, see it's actually, I've grabbed the middle of that component. It's actually not on the 50 mil grid. It's actually in some subgrid just because of how I placed the component. So now every time I try and move it, it's moving it by 50 mils, but it's not actually on the 0.05, 0.1, 0.015, or 0.15, whatever. So anyways, the idea is if I wanted to move a second component in relation to that first component, then I would be able to do that here. Okay, so I now have that user grid, it's called, and the user grid is basically 0, 0, like I said. So if I hit M to move, and then I hit spacebar to zero it out, okay. Now what I want to do is actually go to this component and hit Control M. I've selected it, hit Control M, and now I can move it related to the user origin. Now you see I have X, Y, and rotation components here. So I'm just going to leave it like it is, 0.2, and let's see where that actually moves it to. You see that actually moved it in relation to that user grid. Now I can do that again. I can just go and move it again and just adjust it if I want to. So 0.5, right? Say I wanted to move it out to the right, Control M. I can move it, say 0.5 that way as well. And that's a great, oh, this is the inverse coordinate system here. And this basically allows you to move a second component from one to the other. Now, another thing we can do here is if I mouse over this component and I hit Control Shift M, this is great because now you can see it's on the grid, but if I click and drag, it allows you to actually measure not only the distance from one point to another, again on the grid, but it shows you the distance that one thing is from another. And this is something that just comes in handy over and over and over again. If you want to just kind of quickly measure something, Control Shift M allows you to do that. So you can click and drag and say, oh, how far apart are these vias after all, right? So I mouse over, Control Shift M, oh, that grid's too big. So I'm going to right click, make the grid a little bit smaller, go over top of this now, Control Shift M, and say, okay, well, center of this point roughly is it's about 1100 mils, sorry, 110 mils away from one another, right? And that's just useful because, you might be doing just quick measurements. You want to be able to see what's going on between different points on your board. So these two methods basically allow you to move exactly, and you saw there was actually other reference points you can start. I did the user grid, the one that I actually hit the spacebar to create that starting point, but you could use the actual origin of the sheet. You could use the other points on your sheet. And the move exactly allows you to make really, really precise movements. And if you're setting up registration holes or if you're setting up grid lines, having a good sense of the math around your board can really help. So if you have other questions, you can go over to the KiCad forum. That's forum.kicad.info. And if you don't know, Contextual Electronics is a program where we teach you how to build boards. So precise boards, less precise boards. We teach you everything about not only how to build boards, but also how to design electronics. And that's something we're really excited about. So you can also check out our forum, forum.contextualelectronics.com, and ask more questions over there as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.